I run a nonprofit called Institute of Play, and 2 years ago we started work on a school with New Visions for Public Schools called Quest to Learn. And the MacArthur Foundation gave us a 2-year planning grant around the school. And the idea was that the work that we've been doing at Institute of Play is around games and learning. And we're really interested in the idea of how we can begin to develop a school that didn't necessarily use games in the classroom, but took the kind of design principles from how games work as learning spaces and designed a school from the ground up around those ideas. So it opened September '09 with the 6th grade. It'll eventually be a 6th to 12th grade. So we started with 6th grade, and then it will roll out a year each year for the next 7 years. We have 79 students. It's in New York City. It's in Manhattan.
Okay.
It's a District 2 school, so we could recruit kids from a specific geographic area in Manhattan. We have 6 teachers. So the way we recruited teachers actually was very interesting. So we think it's interesting. Our process was that anybody that we brought into the school, we needed to immerse in our model. So we held a series of workshops on Sundays for teachers that were interested. And these 4-hour workshops, they came in, we actually put them through a learning problem that the kids would have. They did some work with us around assessment. And from that list, we narrowed that down to a smaller group that we then took through a series of interviews. We did direct observation in their classrooms. And we had some really specific criteria. So our first criteria for teachers was they had to be content experts. So they had to really know their content stuff. Most of the teachers were not necessarily technology people. A lot of them weren't necessarily gaming people, but they were able to, or had come from schools where they worked in teams. So they were really good collaborators. They had a very good sense about enabling kids to be innovators, which for us was very important. They had done work with project-based work before, so the curriculum has some project-based work in it. So those were the 3 criteria that we were really looking for. When you begin to explain to a teacher how a game designer thinks about the design of a game, and we're able to show them a kind of one-to-one parallel with how they think about teaching students, and they actually see, oh, it's the same thing, then they realize that, oh, it's maybe the words that are different. And so it's about helping them understand and translate between, when we use the term core mechanic in games, which talks about the activity of the player, what you're really talking about in the design of a piece of curriculum is what is the basic activity of the lesson. So it's a learning curve for everybody, I think, because game language, as any language, can feel very specialist. But the concepts weren't so new. Because that's our whole argument, is that games actually model good learning, and good teachers are immersed in good learning all the time. Well, the interesting thing is the kids are so excited to come to school every day. So we have had parents in particular say, this is the first time that my student has ever come home excited to tell me about what they're doing in school. This is the first time that my child gets up out of bed and wants to go to school. So that's great, just from an engagement perspective. That kids, it's a place kids feel safe. It's a place where they feel excited about coming, which is no small feat for a new school where kids were coming from all different neighborhoods. So everyone always asks us about scale, and to be honest, that isn't the first thing that we've been thinking about. The curriculum is modular, so we actually piloted in regular schools before we opened Quest. So we feel like there's an ability, everything that we produce is open source online, so teachers right now can take that and use that. But the school as a whole, right now there's not a vision around making 100 or 200 Quest to Learns. It may be over time that there are other organizations that are inspired by the ideas that we might work with to build schools that maybe have some similar approaches. But we're still in a kind of fact-finding stage to really understand, well, what's working, what's working about the model, what is something that is scalable, what isn't scalable. When you design a school from the ground up, you attend to all details, and one of the things we had to think about, well, what's the daily schedule like? And a lot of schools use this Carnegie unit, which are classes that are 45 minutes or 50 minutes. And we actually don't believe good learning can happen in 45 minutes. So from the beginning, we wanted to make sure that we used block scheduling, which are extended periods of time. So the domain classes, which are the main classes, last 88 minutes. And so in a day, a kid will take 2 of those classes. Plus, there's a gym period that's 50 minutes long, and some shorter classes called annexes, which are extended kind of enrichment and literacy periods. So for elementary school kids, it's a bit of a shift to be in a class for 88 minutes because they're used to this sort of 45-minute changing topics. But because they're working in this sort of problem-based way, it goes by in a second. So in a single day, the kids may do 2 different subjects, but we have an integrated curriculum. So for example, they take a class that's an integrated math science and another class that's an integrated math ELA. So in the course of the day, they may be dealing with 4 subjects, 3 or 4 subjects, but it's only in 2 full classes.